This is Mark Piper. One of the primary objectives of the PBS project is to create a tool that will allow a user to confront model outputs with benchmark data. The user should be able to upload the models and the data they wish to compare and get back both visual and statistical measures of the comparison. We chose to build our tool on two existing pieces of cyber infrastructure, ILAM and CSDMS. ILAM is a software package that provides a framework for model data intercomparison. ILAM forms the core of our tool. ILAM is great, but one drawback is that it's difficult to set up and use. For example, it has only a command line interface with many configurable options. This is where CSDMS can help. CSDMS provides a framework for running and coupling models in a high-performance computing environment through a web browser. A user can log onto and use the web modeling tool, WMT, anywhere there's an internet connection. So our model benchmarking tool will wrap ILAM in the CSDMS framework to give it an accessible, easy-to-use graphical interface. We've done this, and I'd like to demonstrate how it works. All right, so I'll start by accessing WMT from my web browser. All right, so this is csdms.colorado.edu/WMT. I'm selecting the WMT Permafrost project because this is where the PBS tools lived. All right, I'll log in. Anybody can create a login. All right, and I'm presented with the WMT main window. From here, I can access the PBS tools. Let me start by showing the model ingest tool. This is where a user can upload model results that they wish to compare with benchmark data. This is typically where a user might start, unless they wanted to upload benchmark data, in which course they'd start with the benchmark tool. I like to spend most of my time, though, by looking at the comparison and visualization tools, which we created by wrapping ILAM. And actually, I think I'd like to use an example that I've saved. Okay. So on the right side of this main WMT window are the parameters that I can use to configure this ILAM run. Let's look first at the Models section. This is where I can choose which models to use in the run. All model outputs and benchmark datasets live on a data store on the CSDMS cluster computer. I've included the set of CMIP5 models as well as the MISTIMIP models that Christopher Schwalm has provided me. This is also where model uploads by the user will appear. For this particular run, I've chosen two models, one from each group. There. And there. Okay, let's look next at the model output section. Here the user can choose up to 3 variables from the models they've selected above to compare against all matching benchmarks. The matching is done internally by ILAM. This is where any new variables introduced by a benchmark dataset uploaded by a user will also be listed. Now I selected 2 variables, gross primary production of carbon, GPP, and leaf area index, LAI. Last, the user can select the geographical region or regions over which the comparison is performed. Global is the default. The user can also upload a custom mask that defines a region. Here I'm using the above domain mask that Christopher is using for his analyses. All right, so I've now configured this ILAM run. I can save it, I've already saved it, and submit it to the cluster. So here I need to enter my credentials on the cluster computer. All right, so if the run is successfully accepted by the cluster, this message appears, and it leads me to a status window that shows information about the run. This window updates about every 10 seconds or so. This particular run, because I've done it before, takes about 30 minutes to complete. So instead, I'll go to a completed version from Wednesday, actually, instead. All right, so here you can see the current one, and I'll go instead to this older one. From here, I can get information about this run. I can download the run to my computer. I could trash it, or I could see the results in my browser, which is what I like to do. So this is the output from ILAM for this run. All I've done really is just make it available on the CSDMS web server. The ILAM team has done a really nice job of packaging their output. So let me briefly describe it. On the left side of this overview page is a graphical summary of the overall scores for the two variables and the two models. You can see that both models did moderately well, scoring between 0.5 and 0.75 on a unit scale for both variables. On the right side is the z-score for the models, which shows the normalized difference from the mean for each model for each variable. Since there are only two models, the score, and two variables, the scores will be split equally on either side of the mean. If I go to the results table, you can see I get access to the overall scores, and this is also where I can access other visualizations. For example, if I'd like to see how the two models' GPP outputs are compared, or how well they did against the FlexNet MTE benchmark, I can click the link. All right, so at the top, you can see I can choose whether to look at global results or just those within the above domain. You can see that ILAM gives a table of scores for individual metrics for each model. ILAM also provides plots showing the spatial distribution of these calculated scores for these models against this benchmark. So this includes mean, bias, root mean square error, the maximum month in the seasonal cycle, and then scores for these different metrics. ILAM also provides a Taylor diagram as well as time series comparisons. Okay, that's it for my demonstration. Are there any questions?